Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. Kevin, call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Here.
Mrs. Sweet?
Here.
Mr. Bear? Mr. Whitaker?
Here.
Mr. Avery?
Here.
Mr. Hannah?
Here.
And council does have a quorum. Please join me in pledging allegiance to our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is the regular session of the Enon Village Council. This is Tuesday, July 11th, 2023. Additions to our agenda this evening from council.
Okay, hang on a minute. Yeah, hang on.
I'd like to excuse Councilman Bear from the meeting.
Second.
So that motion by Mr. Whitaker, seconded by Mrs. Sweet. And call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
Okay, that motion does pass. We have the minutes from the June 13th, 2023 meeting. If there are no changes, additions, or corrections, then I would entertain a motion and a second to approve those minutes as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Whitaker, seconded by Mrs. Sweet, and call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
And those are approved as presented. And do we have Laura on the phone yet?
Yes.
Okay.
Lauren, can you hear us?
Yep.
Hi, Laura.
Hey,
How are you this evening?
good. How are you?
We are doing fine. Thank you. Thanks for joining us. And if I could ask you to just go over the numbers for our proposed budget for 2024, I would greatly appreciate it.
All right. Go ahead and start with general fund. Overall, we kept everything pretty similar to what it was the year before. No significant changes. But if you start with general fund, we start with the police expenses, and those are just like operating and contract services. No payroll out of that.
Okay.
Next is street lighting, and then parks and rec, and then admin. Those were all exactly the same as last year. Next page is legislative. The mayor's court, they're all the same. Next is the fiscal officer account. And then some of the miscellaneous, like auditor, workers, and things like that. That's the general fund. On the revenue, which is the next page, everything's the same. Do you guys have any questions on the general fund?
Well, I have one, or if you don't mind. Are we going to put anything in our 24 budget for investing in the Enon Sports Park?
Evan, I can't hear him very good. Can you just repeat?
I'm sorry, Lord.
that?
This is Dave again. I was just inquiring whether we're going to put any money in our 24 budget for investment in the Enon Sports Park.
For the sports park?
Yeah, for the sports park.
Not, I have in this, no.
Not from the general fund, but I think, and we had talked about this when we had the news that, Kevin, you had presented the council that we weren't going to need to come up with any more street funds, that would free up the rest of those ARPA funds if that was the choice for the council, to use those funds for park design, development, whatever the case is.
Well, those ARPA funds have to be spent by 24, do they not?
I think they have to be appropriated.
Appropriated. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so they need to be
And
appropriated
those aren't listed on in our budget?
and spent by the end of 26.
When does it have to be spent by, Laura?
November, I
Sorry,
thought.
what was that?
When do they have to be spent, please?
Appropriated by 24 and spent by 26.
Spent by
Oh,
26.
26, okay.
26, spent by 26.
26, okay.
But we don't have we don't have the ARPA funds in our budget.
Not in the general. It's on a separate page, and it's got 135 in it right now.
135,000?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Where am I missing that? Okay. What page is that on?
You know what page that is on, Laura?
What page ARPA's on?
Yeah.
I don't.
I don't have that on our sheet here. Was that on a different tab by any chance?
That's for all of them, yeah. Should be the second to third last page.
Okay, but the amount is, and we don't have that in this particular packet, but the amount is 135,000.
Yes.
So that's what we have available to appropriate for the park.
Yeah, I will double check that when I get home. But that's what we had in the budget for next year.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. So we can move on to street fund.
Sure. Let me get back to that. We have it looks like expenses are a little higher on that one. Mainly in like the expenses like operating and contract services. Did you raise that for a reason or?
So I made a slight adjustment there to allow us to do paving projects and or if we wanted to go in, let's say for some of the drainage possibly there to hook into with the new sewer line.
Okay. The revenue we keep the same. Next is the police levy. It's increased a little bit, but not by much. 15 on like salary and 10 on other. The additional 10 on the other is probably for the dispatching.
Correct.
And those were just moved from general fund,
And
correct?
then the revenue we have pretty much the same. It's a slight increase, but very little. And then water fund is next, and that's an increase a little bit. Mayor, do you want to talk about that?
So the 600,000 in that, the other, that would be for an increase for a potential project to help match for an addition if we were fortunate enough, Kevin, I think you're going to work on that for the Ohio Public Works Commission project for a possible lab room down there at the water treatment plant. So that's what that increase was there.
Right, we've got the revenue is the same. And then the next one would be the ARPA. Did you say you don't have that paperwork?
Don't have that sheet.
Okay, it's 135 is what we've got estimated. And the
135,000.
one after that is the police fund, the special one where like, you know, donations and things like that go.
Page
And
4 or
it's just-
6.
We kept it the same as last year. And then the last one is the mayor's court computer fund, and we kept that the same as last year as well.
Gotcha.
Page was that, Rick? Did you see it?
It's on the cash summary where it's appropriated into the ARPA fund. It's on page 4 or 6 up on the,
Yeah, but I was talking about the 24 budget.
yeah, but where it is currently is.
So if I can ask another question, Laura, on the ARPA, has all of that been appropriated this year? Where are we at with that in this year's budget? Do we have the whole 135,000 appropriated?
No, none of it. None of that 135 has been appropriated. That's why we were able to budget it.
Okay, for some reason, I thought we had 60,000 that might have been appropriated.
We earmarked that for possible use in.
If you look at the
Gotcha, okay.
reports I sent, that should tell you the current balance.
Yeah, we had earmarked that because we didn't know that thought we might have to use it on the road project. If memory serves right.
Where's labor? I mean, the labor of our folks, where's that in our general expenses? Or is that mostly coming out of street fund or? Because
Labor for what, Dave?
the labor for our employees.
General, street, water, and police.
Okay, so where's, and where is that?
So if you look at personal services, so the personal services, that would include salaries, wages. Laura, jump in anytime. Salaries,
Personal
wa-
services are where, on page 1, 2?
like on page 1, Dave, if you look at page 1, under general fund, and then it says police personal services. So for 2024,
Right.
we don't have anything actually coming out of the general fund for that particular. But if you go down to rec program personal services, we have 6,700. Mayor and administrative personal services, 67,000. So if you follow that same pattern, then you will see on the personal services part that would include, again, salaries, wages, insurance, PERS. What else, Laura? What else would come out of there?
Workers' comp, sometimes,
Workers' comp.
but mainly insurance,
I mean, and-
pension. Those are your main benefits out of there, along with salary.
right. And the primary reason for asking is that, you know, from 22 to 23, when I look at those things, there's just a very, very marginal jump. But we're having, like we're talking about today, you know, paying some of the bonuses that we're paying, several $1,000s, and I didn't see that really reflected here on how we're paying that in the budget, or how that's showing up in the budget.
It would come out of the personal services. It would come out of that, and she does have a little bit of flexibility between the different categories that she has.
Oh, I know.
Which is good. So
I know it's good, but we know these are expenses. Why wouldn't we budget for them?
Well, I think we're covered. I think we've got them in there.
Well, if we spent, like, for personal services, $6,300 in 22, and then we say 67 in 23,
Which one are you talking about,
I'm just
Dave?
picking any of the personal services because you say that's labor.
So like the employees, let's go to the water fund. So the employees for the water fund, you've got on page 6, so you've got an increase there of what, $20,000? So you went from 490 to 510. We can always up that. That's not a problem. But that's our largest department. That's where most of our expenses come from.
Okay?
And Laura, jump in if you feel that these are too low. Jump in as well.
If I feel the numbers too low,
Right.
For the personal services amount.
yeah, I mean, the bonuses you gave weren't, I mean, it was for like 4 people. Is that what you're talking about, like longevity?
Yeah, we'll have, I think the biggest longevity pays have already been made. I know we'll have a few more coming up, but I think the biggest ones have already been paid out.
Yeah, and I mean, those were 4 people, and it was spread out over different funds, and it wasn't that much money. So, I mean, I think everything looks comfortable right now the way it is.
Okay, so here's the gist. If we see that for whatever reason that amount needs to be adjusted, we can always come back and increase those amounts, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, that's always the case of a budget. I'm just trying to,
No, I get it. No, I appreciate the questions. So if we get to a situation that we can't, let's say, transfer a few funds around, we could always increase that line item.
Right, and that's that's why
Okay.
it's important never to appropriate all of your money.
She said it's why that's not important to appropriate all your money.
Okay,
That way you can move.
gotcha. Thanks, Dave. Any other comments or questions? Questions for Laura?
Would we not want to show that ARPA funds in there, but for, strictly for administrative as well as for spending purposes?
So on the pages that you put together, Laura, can you send those out separately? Can you send those ARPA funds to us separately? Those,
The tabs,
those particular pages?
yeah, the tabs on the spreadsheet, on the Excel spreadsheet.
Yes. And to show that 135,000 so that the council has a record of that?
Yes.
Thank you. Any other questions for Laura? Okay, thank you, Laura.
Yep, have a good night, everybody.
So at this time, we will accept any comments from the public about our 2024 budget. Anybody like to speak? Anybody like to come before council and speak? Okay, seeing no one, then we will close that hearing part. And, again, you have to keep in mind, this is always a work in progress. And what we've learned over the last few years is sometimes when we submit something to the county auditor, it can always be revised at their discretion based upon the information that they have. So there's always a lot of tweaking that goes on, and I think we've done pretty good in the past, so I'm confident we have good numbers here. So at this time, I would entertain a motion and a second to approve the 2024 budget.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Whitaker, seconded by Mrs. Sweet. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Abstain.
Ms. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Bear? Oh, sorry, he's not even here. Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
Okay, the 2024 budget has been approved by council, and we'll make sure that Laura gets that filed with the county auditor's office. And let's continue on. I think we have our reconciliation for the month of June.
Would that be during regular council?
What's that?
Would that not be during regular council, not a special meeting?
Yeah, I already closed that one up. Thank you. So if you look, and I'm not sure how your reports are laid out, but if you look at let me grab mine real quick here. The cash summary by fund, and this was as of July 1st, so this would be the end of June. General fund, $145,000. Street construction and maintenance, $83,000. American Rescue Plan Act, that's our ARPA there, $135,000. And the police levy, $257,000. Water operating, $323,000. Contingency fund, $110,000. And for a total of $982,617.93.
Is this the bank reconciliation you're looking at? No.
Looking at the revenue status for the general fund, we have received approximately 63% of our anticipated revenues. And of course, those second half taxes will be coming in sometime next month, probably the middle of August, I would anticipate.
That's
Look-
that's what I'm saying.
Looking at page 2, street construction, maintenance, and repair, we have received about 47% of our estimated revenues. And let's keep going here. Police levy, we're at 52%. Again, those will increase with those second half of revenue or tax revenue receipts when those come in. And page 4, water operating, about 51%. Total of all funds received, approximately 53%. Looking at the appropriation status report for the general fund, if you go to page 2, we're looking at total spent, 52% of the total amount that was appropriated. Street construction, maintenance, and repair, 37%. And again, keep in mind, we will have a big expenditure that will take place with the South Senior Street project. So that will go up tremendously towards the end, well, probably around the end of fall, I think was what the anticipated completion date was going to be. If you look on page number 4, we have the special revenue for the police levy, 45% spent, so we're in good shape there. And if you turn to page 6, water operating, we have about 45% spent. Total of all funds, 42%. So we're in really good shape. Department heads, you guys are doing a good job with your expenditures. I appreciate that. So keep it up.
I'll move that we accept the bank reconciliation as of 7/1.
And I need a second.
I'll second.
Moved by Mr. Whitaker, seconded by Mrs. Sweet. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. And I am going to turn this over to Mr. Babcock and Kevin. I think you've got him all plugged in there and ready to roll.
Yeah, as we talked about it a few weeks ago, as we get ready to build our Enon Sports Park and fund it, we're doing it through a pitch deck that we will present to potential sponsors to see if they're willing to provide funds to build our sports park. And the rough estimate, somewhere between 6.3 and $7 million, just scope creep being scope creep. Part of that pitch deck, to make it relevant to who we're presenting it to, sometimes they just need to see what it's going to look like, at least conceptually, to do that. And because it helps the sponsor be part of that. They can understand more what it's going to look like. So a few council meetings ago, we hired MSP, a firm out of the greater Cincinnati area, to build some slides to help us do this pitch deck. From the flat graphic that we had from Harrell and what was it?
Harold and Associates.
Harrell and Associates, and make it come alive a little bit more. And so that's what these slides are. So Kevin, if you want to go. So Rick and I, we've been working with MSP. They presented some of these slides at about the 60% stage, 50, 60%. We had a lot of comments going back there. We had another update on 6th July, again, making some recommendations on things that we'd like to see. And then on Friday, the 7th of July, late in the day, they had updated based on our meeting on the 6th. And so that's what we have here. So these slides that you're about to see are about the 95% complete date. I think that they're going to accurately represent conceptually what Enon Sport Park is going to look like. And then from there, I think it'll resonate with the sponsors to buy into the whole donating the funds that are necessary to build it. So go ahead. So this is kind of a high-level overview. It's still kind of flat, but it kind of points out on a legend is there what the various things are, from the sports diamonds to the soccer fields to the baseball diamonds, to the basketball courts to the pickleball courts, where the existing park is, things like that. Go ahead, Kevin. Again, a little bit more of a flat file, but it gives you a more aerial view of how it would look and where it is relationship to the streets, taking out some of the whole water field, markings and things like that may not resonate with, who you're giving this pitch to. But you can see where our sport, and then from there, now we're having some of the different views. You can see lights around the stadiums and how they're multi-use fields, because the soccer fields can be used as part of the outfield, and you'll be able to see some of that. Some of the four major diamonds, the concession stand and the speakers and things like that. There in the middle, it's a little bit elevated because it's going to be elevated because of floodplain stuff, and then you can see the smaller diamonds back on the side. But in the far back, kind of upper a little bit left, you can see where the shelters are and things like that. So just a different view. Go ahead. Now it is that view that I'm talking about, where the shelters are, where some of the other soccer fields are, where some of the basketball courts are. You can see that down at the bottom in the blue, because those are the basketball fields. You come in kind of like have a small traffic circle there, where the shelter is going to be, probably in that area somewhere. Near the shelter is we kind of have a place where you can see a little sign there behind the grass. If you look diagonally in that cement field, you see a little sign where we might expect to recognize those sponsors that give us the money, whether it be Speedway or Mercy Health or Kettering Health or Dick's Sporting Goods or whomever we get the money from, potentially recognize them there. And then you can see the ponds that we have and some of the other fields. Again, just another view, but that's the kind of the sign that maybe it could be larger, could be smaller, but just conceptually where they know that they'll be recognized, and put that in there. So they can kind of, again, bringing to life that area. Go ahead. Again, just another view with the basketball courts and the diamonds and the soccer fields that we'll have out there. Again, the parking, because you really don't want parking on the side. We'll make the parking so the streets can go both ways, and then have actual parking places for the cars instead of just trying to line up along the road. Again, one of the recommendations of MSP, because they design these things on a regular basis, and they've just find that to be one of their strong lessons learned, that it's worth the extra money to designate parking. It doesn't take up much real estate, but it does provide safety and ease of getting in and out. Again, just another view of, I think that's the playground that's there. You can see some of the soccer fields in the upper right-hand side. Baseball fields in the upper right-hand side. Again, our ponds Again, the parking, again, now you're just taking a much bigger view of this, how we're talking about laying it out. If you look at the kind of bottom center, that's kind of our existing park right now. And then everything else behind that is going to be the new Enon Sports Park. But that bottom one there is what we have now. And again, just another view, just a different angle showing the diamonds and how it's going to look. So I think that's the last view of that, or is there 9? No. So anyway, this is just a compilation of the ones that you've already seen. This slide and that slide and this slide. But I think that these are really pretty darn close to what we were looking for, and I think it'll help in our pitch deck presentation to the sponsors to say, hey, look, this is what this is going to look like, and this is what we intend to have. Again, there's going to be minor changes here and there, just the light of day. Any plan that you have, it changes because of EPA or other things that may go on. But overall, we have these slides here is to be part of our pitch deck. Go ahead, Tim.
You know, parking keeps coming up over and over and over again. Did they kind of give you guys some kind of idea of what they thought we might need in overall parking? I mean, I just
more
I
than
don't.
more than what's on the Harrell and Associates.
Okay.
And I think
okay.
you'll see that in these things here.
Okay.
Is that
Okay.
that there's more parking and between Rick and myself and the MSP professionals that with their sports park expertise came up with some ideas of what we might move around slightly to provide that extra parking.
Accommodate
Right.
more park. Okay, thank you. And I don't know how this would fit in, but what about, and I think this had come up previously in discussion, somewhere, that looks great to me, by the way. I think it looks, if you were going to somebody and say, hey, here's what our plan is, I think it looks great. How could we, Rick, Dave, how can we put in like a slide or two, and maybe I'm ahead of myself here. If I am,
No.
tell me.
Begin with the end in mind. So
it's like, here is what we have invested so far. Okay, this is what Enon and the township. We want to show you. We want to give you numbers.
well, that's already part of the pitch deck, sir.
Okay. And then maybe it's like, so here's how we would think it would be developed. This part would come first, and this would be the cost, and this would come next. That would be the cost. But it's like, here's what we have in it. This is what we have out of our own pockets to show that ownership thing. So,
Right. Even though it's relatively small percentage compared to the overall cost of the park so far. I mean, yes, but we're showing not only do we doing that, Tim, at least the recommendation will come to council with the pitch deck, but we're also kind of explaining why we're doing this from a fundraising perspective and not a levy perspective.
okay.
It's just a couple bullets, but
Okay.
again, trying to tell our story and why this is happening. So, was there anything in there that anybody saw? I know I sent these to you yesterday, just so you could see if there was anything major or something you wanted to see that you don't see.
I think they did a nice job.
I think they did a great job.
I do
mean,
too. I know we've talked about, minor changes. Things can change as we go along.
Right.
There could be different ideas that come up we hadn't thought about that, could change before ground's ever broken. So, I think from a conceptual standpoint, you guys hit it on the head.
I think they did a great job. Again, it's just depending on how long the whole pitch deck goes. Thinking of putting in a snippet of the WHIO overview where they had the drone fly over its current facility. Our current land, where it's just nothing but basically plain field except for the small part that's the existing Enon Park.
What can we get for that? What, for that extra money? What would they?
Well,
I can't remember what they would do. It might be worth having that done.
You could have an entire video program
Yeah, I mean,
that would initially.
Basically, Tim, you're taking not only these 8 slides in some fashion, but maybe a couple more, and then they just kind of roll you through it, kind of like it's called a flyover, and then they really just kind of blend all these things into a film where you have a drone that's it looks like a drone, coming in and swooping over, and you pick where you want to start, either the existing sports park or from the doggy park, which is on the far side, and then kind of starting past that, flying over, and then going through all that for $1,600.
If you
I think we would get that money back.
If you wanted to see something like that in real time, Kevin, I don't know if you can pull up the Rantoul Family Sports Park. They have a flyover when they were initially proposing that. I don't know if you can pull up there or not, but
I mean, I think, like Dave
What's
just
it called?
alluded to, I think for $1,600,
I think
okay, we get paid back.
that's my
I mean,
opinion,
I would
Jeremy.
think. I would think.
I would think.
I didn't hear you. You want me to pull something up or what?
yeah, if somebody wanted, do you want to see what the flyover would look like basically in action?
If you could get it real quick.
Rantoul Family Sports,
Grand Tool?
Rantoul.
So that takes all the pictures.
Grand Tool Sports Complex?
It puts it together, and it says, this is what you would see eventually. You bring a drone, like if you were flying a drone, this is what it would look like.
And then there'll be a YouTube.
I don't know, I think that'd be
It's kind of cool. It's a really
I
cool
think
effect.
that would be, in my opinion, my humble opinion, I think that would be a bigger,
See, and they've already got
tool
these
that-
built. That's why it's only $1,600 addition. That's that option
Yeah.
3 that on the contract you signed, Tim.
but to see that if you're sitting on the other side and you're being asked for money, to
Right.
see that part.
Like, oh, you guys have
And-
actually
and-
thought
and-
this through, and
Yes,
Right.
exactly right.
And
Yeah,
I'm-
yeah.
And I'm like I said, if we play the snippet of the WHAO, that flatland looks now, and then you put this is what it was, and then obviously the WHAO gives it the credibility that this is news, and then you follow that up with this flyover through our proposed sports park. I think it'll have a really good effect on the potential sponsors for our sports park.
I do too.
And for $1,600, that
I think
seems
that's
like,
what
that
that's what it was.
that
I think
seems
it was
like
your
a
option
deal.
3. And then you would just need to, I can get with Jose and Brian, and I don't know how that works on the contract, but again,
Okay.
because I don't know if you sign for all 3 or just sign for the first 2.
Just whatever the.
Yeah, option 1 and option 2.
Yeah.
But I'll get with Jose, and who's the president of MSB, by the way, and
Here we go.
have him send whatever documentation he needs from a contract perspective to you, get that signed, and then get that back, and then they said it wouldn't take them long.
There's what it would look like, so.
Remember, this one's a $21 million complex. Fantastic place, though.
You really don't want it to be much longer than about 20, 30 seconds. Again, just to keep their interest, when you're giving these pitches to sponsors, having done this in the past, you don't want to bore them.
Like that first sign, whoever you went to, you could put that straight on. It said something like "Build something sports
Right.
complex." I mean, we could probably get to something that we could tailor to Mercy Health or
Dix or
whoever we wanted
Speedway
to do
or
and
whomever,
have
right?
it changed.
everybody we're talking to continues about the location of this being a very viable opportunity for the village itself.
And we have that's in the proposed pitch deck as well.
My 2 cents, I say we do it. I think that's pretty awesome.
And this is probably a little longer than what most people, unless we put some music behind it or something like that in our pitch deck. Again, they know why you're there.
This is like 2 minutes.
They've
I
got,
think, I think we got the
they-
gist
they've
of it.
got
Thank you.
eight baseball, softball diamonds, 2 multi-purpose, 2 full-size soccer, 2 full-size football, a kiddie tournament field for like handicapped kids or t-ball. There's a 4-wheel place where you can go in big monster trucks if you want to, and there's also a putt-putt off to the side. Other than that, there's not much to do there. So.
Not much to do.
I mean, they know why you're there, but you just want to impress them, and have them visualize what they're investing in. The backstory. The fact that we're invested. As council and the village. The fact that why we're going from a donation perspective versus a levy, but also talking about, like you mentioned or Rick just mentioned, its location. Central between Columbus, Cincinnati, right off the highway, what we have planned, all those kind of things that it's going to be well used, well recognized. All those things are in there, but again, to help visualize, I think we can do it with this, and I think it'll help us.
Is it the
gain the money that we
consensus of
want.
council then that we go ahead and have this done? Are there any objections?
I see no reason not to be honest. This, as Dave says, you get one chance for a first impression, and $1,600 might be a small chunk to pay for a first impression. Wow, essentially. I'd make the motion in that then.
So
And I would
motion by
second
Mr.
that.
Hanna, second by Mr. Babcock. Any further discussion? Okay, call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes, and can I clarify this just a little bit too? This doesn't mean any long-term association with MSP. This is their end of the conceptualization of the pitch. To go any further or to do anything else, they do that type of thing. But in no means are we pigeonholing or discarding work that has been done or will be done by anybody else.
True.
Okay.
I think Miranda's got 6 years by now, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's counting. All right, let's go into staff reports. And Chief, do you want to go first tonight?
Yes, sir. Thank you,
Okay,
Mayor.
good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and residents. First, I want to go ahead and recognize Officer Miranda Dunham. We hired her 5 years ago on July 1st. She graduated Clark State Police Academy. She came here, and since then she has become an FTO. She's an SRO, and she's a valued asset to our police department. So if she would come forward, I would like to recognize her with a certificate of appreciation for her 5 years of service to the Enon Police Department, the Village of Enon.
Who's going to take the picture?
Thank you so much.
Hold on for a minute. Picture.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
Picture.
Congratulations, man.
Good work. Good job.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Chief. I'll
Thanks,
let you
sir.
finish out. You are welcome. And
Thank you,
welcome
Officer
back.
Dunham.
Welcome back from vacation.
Appreciate that. Thank you. I'll just run through the rest of the stuff I have. First off, I'd like to say it's nice to recognize her for that because it's the first time I've done that. So, yay me. I haven't been in this position that long either. Axon fleet cameras. Our cruiser cameras were installed a couple weeks ago. They were phenomenal. They scheduled 2 days. We knocked it out in a day and some, but we got it done. I appreciate the guys down at the street department for getting a bay moved to the side, and they look good. They're working good. They were great. So they, just to give a little, I know I talked about it before, just to recap, that's the same brand of body camera that we wear. So if the officer activates their body camera, and they're all interlinked together, so they turn on the lights or whatnot. If the cruiser camera activates, it automatically can activate the body camera also, and so on. And then when other officers arrive, it will signal that and go ahead and activate their cameras for them. So it's really nice, and the quality is top notch. We've used Axon. Oh wow! I know I have their first body camera, and I think some of their employees have never even seen those. So
Remember when we first got them?
yeah. So come a long way. They've been really good to us, and I'm glad that we got those in there. So, second thing I had, I meant to talk about this last meeting, but I know we didn't have it. Happy birthday to the United States there on July 4th. Prior to that, I wanted to, the fireworks and stuff, a lot of people had some questions about it, and I spoke with the administrator a little bit before that. One thing I noticed when I was reviewing, bringing myself up to speed, I do notice that the Village of Enon still has a noise ordinance that is from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m., and I think that council, and we need to consider putting in some sort of exception for since we're okay in our municipality with lighting off fireworks and stuff, we would have to amend that somehow to fit in those holiday, because from a law enforcement standpoint, we have to enforce.
Are you talking about even from the personal standpoint, Chief, where people in the village set those things off? Because
Yeah, it would just be in our municipality. So
Right.
anywhere inside of our jurisdiction, the Village of Enon has a noise, loud disturbance, which is 509.09, if anybody cares to look it up. But just to summarize it, from the hours of 9 p.m. till 7 a.m., any person, here we go. When anywhere in the village, no person shall make, cause, permit, or allow to be made any loud, unusual, or unnecessary noise, music in any manner, ... right? And
Yes.
So, to help out our enforcement of laws, since it's okay to light off fireworks, I don't know anybody could light them off at 9 o'clock and still see them. So,
I've tried.
yeah. So, just here, we've got a list of, I've got a list which I can send out to you, but there's certain parts of the holiday, or certain parts of the years where folks can light off fireworks, which is, and again, you've got July 4th, Labor Day, New Year's Day, Memorial Day, and so on. So we would just probably need to get that ordinance updated to encompass those dates so it would not violate our noise ordinance.
Mike, why don't you get the change together and bring it back to council, and we'll get that done, because I agree. I think
Okay.
that needs to happen.
Okay. I was speaking with a few residents, and I thought, you know what?
No, I
You're
think
right.
that's,
There
I
is-
think
it
it,
does
do you
break
think the
law.
rest of the ordinance is okay? Are you happy with the times? Because you're the one that's going to be enforcing that. Are you okay with the times that is stated now? And I don't remember when we put that ordinance into effect. I have no clue when that was passed originally.
It was passed October 22nd, 2013.
Okay,
I mean, if the residents are fine with it, I'm fine with it. I like to go to bed early, so I think if you stop making too much noise after 9 o'clock, I much appreciate it. And,
Okay.
let me sleep till 7, that'd be great on the weekends. But yeah, no, I mean,
But- put together an amendment to it, and
So can I make a comment?
Sure.
The 4th of July fireworks are July 3rd, not the 4th, generally speaking. And
eh,
also, let me finish.
I'm listening.
Please. Since people are now allowed to shoot off or fire off fireworks, the noise starts the week before and ends maybe the week after, maybe the second week after. We're hearing them, at least in our part of the community. I see heads nodding back there, for 2 weeks maybe total. So does that mean that you'll enforce,
Well, I won't enforce all the ordinances, but
I mean, do we make exceptions a week before, a week after? I mean,
It should
I'm just
correlate
saying-
exactly with what that fireworks
The state or
So it
state.
needs to.
law is. It
Right.
should, it should,
Exactly.
and that way there's no question. It's like,
Exactly.
it should be exactly the way that reads. It make it very simple from an enforcement standpoint, understanding standpoint from a citizen. If you go outside of that, well, you're
asking for a
you
knock on
may
the
be
door.
asked to stop.
yeah, correct. So it's like in the state one, just on the Ohio, it's the weekend before and after. So
Okay.
yes. And I will point out the fireworks that are set off at the VFW are not inside of our limits, so we wouldn't enforce that. But yeah, and then like I said, New Year's and stuff like that, they do have it, and we would definitely want to include that if we wanted to match the revised code, which I would recommend if we're going to
Okay,
do that, we
good.
do that. But yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you
You
for
put it
pointing
together
that
and
out.
bring it back, and we would appreciate it.
I will do that. And then I had bullet points somewhere. I want to. I know I recognize Officer Dunham for her 5 years, but I wanted to thank a resident from the community who I did not get their name because I'm not sure that they wanted to provide it, but they live over. They live in our area. They stopped in. I think the first time 2 weeks prior to the 4th, they asked to see me. I want to say I was down there with the cameras, but then they stopped in the front office again, and Christy had called me, and I said I'm busy. I think I was doing interviews and stuff. I made an appointment for him, but the resident came back a third time, which I was very impressed. The resident stopped in twice. I didn't get to talk to him, and they came back a third time, and they came back the third time to they wanted to thank the one of our police officers, which is Officer Mike Statesman, after I looked, for their professionalism during the call, the fact that it showed that they cared. He appreciated the time spent and the just the overall understanding. He was very impressed with it, and he felt that he needed to stop in and thank our agency for being the way that they were and the service that we provide. So I just wanted, I've had people call in and give compliments. Obviously over the phone, we do get quite a few compliments. I know it's much appreciated, but for somebody to go out of their way to personally talk to me, to thank me for the actions of our officers, it says a lot. So I wanted to make sure that I made that known at council.
And we
thank the
like hearing
residents.
that as well. I appreciate you passing that along to us, so
And you put
Job well
something in
done.
his package to
Appreciate
that
it.
effect?
What's that?
You put something in his package to that effect, like an attaboy or something?
I mean, I tell them that,
Please
boy, and
do.
I will,
Please
yes, I will
do.
note it. I will
Thank
note it
you. Thank you.
paper-wise, but, and that's it. But thanks to everybody that's been supportive of the agency. And short of that, that's all I have.
questions for our chief?
You were going to mention National Night Out?
National Night Out, yep, that is going to be August 1st, which is a Tuesday. And that'll be at the Green Inn School,
Looking for volunteers?
5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Officer Dunham is putting that all together. And if anybody would like to help out or volunteer, yep, please contact her or our agency, and we will point you in the right direction.
Thanks, chief.
Thank you.
Anything over July 4th, everything go good on over July 4th?
Excuse me?
The parade, everything go okay with the parade? And July
Yes, I thought, I was very impressed with the turnout. I thank the fire department for putting on a
Huge.
great, yeah. It was
Huge.
really, it was a really nice turnout, and I actually had some comments from the residents today on how well it was, and I told them that it wasn't us, it was the fire department that organized that. So,
And I do have to say, the fireworks, the July 4th fireworks that were on the 3rd were awesome. I know Dave was down there, but to be so close and to be underneath of them, it was a great show. They did a nice job this year.
I totally agree. It was
Yeah.
a phenomenal show.
Any other comments, questions? Thanks, chief.
All right, thank you, Mayor, Council, residents.
Good evening.
Yeah, and just first of all,
look familiar.
I'm feeling good. I'm probably 90% back to normal after what happened, and next Monday hopefully will be my final doctor's appointment and get this thing out of my arm and move on. So but thank you for all the prayers once again and thoughts and stuff. So, item number 1, the Enon Xenia construction road update. The company's doing real well. They started to put in laterals on our side, and they were down to 1 today to finish the laterals. There is an issue with the Marathon pipeline, but that's not our issue. Actually, the county and Marathon is discussing it. There's supposed to be a minimum of 13-inch clearance between the Marathon pipe and the storm sewer pipe, and there's like 4 inches. So
I don't know how that stuff happens.
I don't know.
I don't. Every job, it's how does that happen?
So what they're doing, nobody's answered what to do. They're talking about some different pipe size in there, maybe using
Restricted.
2 or 3 pipes, instead of one big one, and make why I don't know.
Because that Marathon pipeline is not going to move.
Right.
So
Right.
How deep is
that's going to
Marathon?
stay there.
What's that?
How deep is Marathon?
Right offhand, I don't know, Rick. I'd have to. So, but as of right now, the county and Marathon still talking, no decision. Which in turn, after they get this lateral in, the plan is for them to start at Rebert Pike, come back and start putting in curbs, gutters, get all that prepped, and they'll come past Arnold. They didn't say how far, but they'll come past Arnold and, probably stop there, but they'll get all the curbs and gutters in, the asphalt. That way, if they don't have a decision by school time starting, then at least it'll be open for the school, Arnold, and then, Rebert Pike. But if not, they were talking about pulling off, and we didn't want them to do that, and I know the county didn't want them to do that. So I know that they're talking hard about getting this resolved. But that's the plan right now. After they get this last lateral in, then they're going to start and kind of do the finish work and at least get all that done. So,
Is there such a thing as a waiver, Kevin? Is there such a thing as a waiver for the clearance requirements?
that Marathon has some strict requirements, and they don't want to, from what I'm hearing, they don't want to budge on it just because of the material that goes down that pipeline all
Right.
the time. So,
And we
I just
discovered
wondered-
Yeah.
when they were out there, it's under 1,000 PSI pressure, 1,000. So that's why they were so particular with it. So the pipe underneath is going to have to be a smaller diameter. That's the answer.
yeah, right,
So.
right. So, item number 2, wastewater replacement project. We are meeting with Shelby Engel from CMT actually doing a Zoom conference next Tuesday, and because I'm planning on submitting that project to OPWC, and that application is due. I have to have it in the portal August 7th by 5 p.m. So we're just going to meet with her, review the project, since they started with the design and stuff, and make sure, we got current prices, things like that. So
And which project is this one, Kevin?
that is the, well, no, that's sorry. That's
No,
the
that's
one I'm
okay.
just talking about is the water treatment improvement project that
Gotcha.
needs to be submitted to OPWC.
That's the addition of the lab down
right.
there. Okay,
right.
thank you.
So we're just like I say, going to make sure we got updated prices, things like that, so I can submit all that stuff on August the 7th for that deadline.
Gotcha. Okay.
The wastewater replacement project. That project is in design right now. We're hoping to be out for bid. We're doing some railroad permitting issues right now, kind of fumbling our way through that with the engineer, with all their requirements and stuff.
When's that going to go for bid, do you
We're
think?
hoping to get that out for bid. He said probably October, and then they could start that this fall or winter.
Or winter? Okay.
Yep. So I'll keep you up to date on that. Move down to number 4, the SCADA system grant that we applied for way back when through the Department of Development, and we got no news that. I remember telling you guys that they
down.
shut it down.
Yep.
We didn't get turned on. They just used up all the money and didn't tell anybody. And we realized that some area towns around here had the same reaction too. They weren't notified. But since then, there was some more money to come out, so I got an email wanting to know if we were still interested in the $75,000 grant, and I said, well, heck yeah, we are. So
That was a great answer, by the way.
I was on that. I said, heck yeah, we are. So I'm waiting on another email. It looks like that's going to happen. So, but just going to wait to get that finalized and stuff. So,
Good deal.
the court report in your packet for the month of June. There were 6 traffic cases. Total funds received for the month $2,373.60. Year to date $11,328.92. Total remitted to the state $366.50. Year to date, $1,983. Total remitted to the village, $1,993.60. And year to date, $9,170.92. Total dispersed, $2,373.60. And year to date, $11,328.92.
I'll move that we accept the mayor's court report as presented.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Whitaker, seconded by Mr. Avery. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
All right. Let's see here. I did want to give you an update on the blood drive, since we didn't have the last council meeting. There was, once again, a great turnout. There was 31 people registered to give blood, 27 units collected. They made, or 27 units were projected, actually. And they made 100% of their goal. This will go to save 81 lives, they said, so. And that. We did get the contract for the resurfacing of the Enon Xenia. As was mentioned, A&B Asphalt got that contract in the amount of $281,977.58. So these contracts need to be signed by you two and me, and then I'll send them off to Paul and get them. Then I can get them copies to the county, copies to
I'll
the.
do that tonight.
Yep.
How much of that is ours and how much of that is?
I think we were $60-some thousand.
Yeah, that's what I remembered. I didn't know if it had changed because of all the escalations
No.
that we have in
No.
material costs and things like that.
No. So, yeah, that was a good, because evidently the
It was
prices
actually
come
less
down.
than
Yeah,
what their
less.
engineer's estimate
Yeah.
was. Yeah, which was
that's
like,
good.
wow.
So,
Yeah.
it
Cool.
all turned out pretty good there, so.
The ordinances.
Yes, the ordinances are next. My final thing here. We have a couple ordinances that need passed. Ordinance 2023, emergency ordinance 2023-04, an ordinance approving the codification, editing, and inclusion of certain ordinances as part of the various component codes of the codified ordinances of Enon, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
So just a quick explanation. These are all the changes that have been made either by the Village of Enon. Most of these are state codes that have changed, many related to the police department operations and enforcement. And this is just saying that we are putting these under one cover.
I'll move that we waive the 3 reading rule.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Whitaker, seconded by Mrs. Sweet. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
And then I'll move that we accept emergency ordinance number 2023-04.
And I'll second.
Again, moved by Mr. Whitaker, seconded by Mrs. Sweet. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
And the last one is emergency ordinance 2023-05. This emergency ordinance amending previously adopted Section 123.01 of the Village of Eden Codified Ordinance establishing locations for the posting of public meetings. We had to do this because two of the areas that we were posting no longer have bulletin boards, and so
Yes.
these are the new five places. They're at here at the Enon Government Center, the post office, the public library, and we did install a community information board at Settlers Park, so we can post one there or any community, events, stuff like that. And then Ulrich's Hometown Bakery.
Which will probably get the most visibility.
I have a question.
Yes.
If we put it on our Facebook page, is that considered posting? And should that be not put one of the places?
I don't know if that.
Not for legal purposes.
I don't
Not
think
for
so.
legal
I
This
think
is a
purposes.
physical
Yeah, this is a physical,
Okay,
location.
a physical
yeah,
piece of
this
paper,
law
okay.
or this ordinance ORC.
Okay. It just was popped into my
I'll
head.
waive the three reading rule for the 05 ordinance.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hannah, second by Mr. Avery. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock,
Yes,
Ms. Sweet,
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker,
Yes.
Mr. Avery,
Yes.
Mr. Hannah.
Yes. Now I'll move the 05 ordinance.
I'll second.
Moved by Mr. Hannah, seconded by Mrs. Sweet. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock,
yes.
Mrs. Sweet,
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker,
Yes.
Mr. Avery,
Yes.
Mr. Hannah.
Yes.
Here's the answer to my question.
Can't think of anything else right now.
Okay. Questions for our administrator?
Kevin, down on Mud Run where it abuts Hunter Road, somebody's went in and cleared out quite a bit of the brush around the north side of the creek. Did we do that, or to get access back down there, or what's the deal with that?
That was volunteered work, kind of cutting that honeysuckle and things out of there, so.
Great, great. We had talked earlier this spring about possibly going over to the south side where we own the property and clearing a lot of that out because it's a park that cost us no money and it would be a great place for people to go in the meadow itself back through there. If one day you want to meet me down there, I'll take you and show you what we're talking about. Tim and myself went back there. It's village property that's not being used and could really be a neat spot to be.
Okay.
And it would be a great winter project when the foliage is off of everything. And I think that's kind of when we were.
Boy
back there.
Scouts, you know who, but
Yep.
anybody like that, but.
Any other questions, comments for our administrator? Public comments?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
So-
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Good night, everybody. Thank you very much.
7:38.